All right, welcome to It's Been a Minute with Jody Sitvers, the first ever episode, matter of fact, where I lean upon my many years in the employee benefits business to share valuable tidbits of information to those of you out there that own and or run organizations. With each session, my goal will be to arm you with information impactful to the management of your health insurance plan. By defining three key areas with each subject matter, I will assist you in bringing more clarity and transparency to the process so you can have more confidence and bring more value to your employees. Those three areas that we're going to define are clear problems, so identifying clear problems and or questions that you may have, clear objectives to solve problems and or answer questions, and then the clear processes for carrying out those objectives. On this and likely every episode, regardless of the subject matter, here's how we will define or view, if you will, each key area. The problem, if not defined, you won't know what you don't know. The objective, bring clarity and transparency where there may be a lack of such. And the process, asking the right questions to ensure a clear process for answering your questions or solving the problems. You will rarely ever, if ever, hear me say this is the way. In this business and in most businesses, there's different ways to approach different things. So I won't be sharing the exacts and everything that you have to do because there can be different ways. But this week, what we're going to discuss is three questions you need to ask your insurance broker. Okay. So number one, how often should I expect to hear from you or see you? And, this is often left out there for anybody's best guess. And, of course, there's no exact way, I guess I'd say, for this to be accomplished. Every broker is different. Every employer is different. Their needs are different. But some ways would be a formal service schedule. And there's lots of different names for that. People have different names, but that's often a schedule, a plan of action put in writing. Here's what we're going to do. We've all agreed upon it, so both sides know what's going to happen or not going to happen. Holds the broker accountable, and in some cases holds the employer accountable because there may be pieces of the puzzle that the employer is responsible for. And there's just no surprises, at the end of the day, like this is what we said we were going to do or not, and everybody agrees. You could agree upon a regular meeting where the most current issues can be addressed and acted upon. So you're in regular routine meetings where you can discuss what needs to be discussed and to deal with. That ensures that things are addressed in a timely manner. Because if you're meeting on a regular basis, how often? I mean, again, totally up to the particular situation. Maybe there's such complexity in some situations or some new changes where weekly is necessary, but mostly it would be monthly or quarterly in my experience. But whatever the answer and whatever the result, ask the questions and get clarity. Like what is your expectation and how are you going to do this? Number two, how do you get paid? Again, very often this is just simply left unaddressed in the world of benefits. Now, interestingly, in fact, this is now law through the Consolidated Appropriations Act, which requires that brokers disclose compensation above $1,000. But even that can be thrown into a pile of paperwork and not really given the attention that is due. So maybe not made much of. So why is this important? And maybe a lot of this is obvious, but you work really hard for the dollars that you make, and you deserve to be assured you're getting adequate value. Most of the time, this is not always, this is not an absolute, but most of the time, the amount of revenue brokers are paid is similar, meaning one broker makes the same as the other broker. There are exceptions, and that could be another deeper discussion, but for the most part, you can assume that most brokers are making very similar amounts of revenue. That being the case, what are they doing with that? What value is your broker providing for that? Today's best brokers don't just show up at renewal and tell you the bad news, which all too often it is, and do their best to negotiate and make it better. They do that, But that's not all they do. It's funny. I often say I used to sell insurance. And what I mean by that is when I started in this business in the mid-90s, really that's the gist of what we did. It was, quoted and provided service and implemented plans, negotiated and handled renewals. But now, these days, in addition to that, we're analyzing provider discounts and networks. We're providing and explaining claims data analytics and how they impact the plan. We're creating benefit guides. We're discussing wellness plan initiatives. We're imagining new ways in the digital world to educate employees, and on and on. There's just a number of different things that we do that are so different. And so, it's important to bring this part to this question to a close. It's important to understand, what is your broker doing? Because what are they doing for you? And do you feel like whatever it is that they are doing, and it may be all of the things I mentioned and many more things, do you feel like you're getting value for the dollars that are being paid in commission? So ask that question. There's nothing wrong with asking that question. Have an open discussion. And so compliance would be another thing, that really just popped in my brain. But just thinking about compliance, compliance is another big thing that we did not deal with a number of years ago, other than really mainly just COBRA. But speaking of compliance, that's question number 3. How do you ensure you stay compliant with, and you're asking your broker this, how do you ensure you stay compliant with FMLA, ERISA, COBRA, hiring practices, onboarding procedures? I mean, you could go on and on. This is definitely an area where there are many answers that would suffice, meaning there's no one way. There's all kinds of products and resources and tools and apps and website. I mean, there's all types of things that a broker could do to help answer these questions for you and hold you or help you remain compliant. And each organization, again, as I've said earlier, has different needs, and each broker has different tools. But the desired result's the same, right? You need to stay compliant, and that the desire to do that and the need to do that is paramount. I mean, because we're talking about laws and things that you as an employer have to abide by. Clearly, there are many of you that are experts in this area and may not need a lot of help. We as a broker represent organizations where there are people employed by the organization that are as much of an expert on these issues as we are. And so in that case, they don't need a lot of help from us. But I would say that's probably the exception and not the rule, meaning most organizations need some help. And brokers are in a really neat position to provide that help. And so I would suggest that if you are the exception and not the rule, that you would ask your broker those things. Because the brokers should have access to all kinds of, whether they know it or not, I would actually say if they're a part of an organization that's of any size or have any connection to an organization that's any size, they have access to tools and resources to make sure you remain compliant in probably a lot of ways that would surprise you even, that go well beyond insurance. But again, with all these, you simply need to have a discussion with your broker about what keeps you up at night and what you worry about, and find out how they might help. So that concludes kind of the subject matter today. So if you have any questions, love to talk to you about it. I think the easiest way for you to get connected with me is to go to, you can see it up above my head, but go to It's Been a Minute. Now that's ITSBENE minute.com, and there you can find my calendar and access to it, and you can simply put yourself on my calendar for a time that's convenient for you, and be happy to talk to you about more details, because there's so much more to each of these subjects that the time doesn't allow. But would love to talk to you about it, and would look forward to that.